Pardon me? What did you say? I'm 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 a bit distracted. In this video, we are going to talk about the number one communication skill that we all need to work on, yet it's the hardest one to improve on, and that is listening. My name is Eric Herdman. Welcome to the channel where we talk about things that'll make you a better human. Today, we're talking about listening. It is the number one communication skill, right? It does so much. It demonstrates respect. It's a way to show, not just say I'm empathizing with you, but show empathy to those in all aspects of our life. And yet we get a competitive advantage when we listen because especially if we're really focused, really present, we're really getting a keen understanding of what's going on with someone's issue, situation, and how they feel about it. Again, very much a part of the human condition to want to be felt, heard, and understood by another person. But why? Why is listening so difficult? Well, let's look at the 4 types of listeners. We got the 4 types of listeners right here on this graphic, and here's the first one, down here in red, down here. Don't be down here. This is the inactive listener. This is the listener that is absolutely not doing anything good. They're distracted. What'd you say? They're aloof. They really are not present at all. I think you get the picture. Next up is the selective listener. Oh, wait a minute. A predilection filter. I'm listening for things that I like. A who filter. I'm listening for you to drop names or mention someone important. Someone that I think is important. Sometimes selective listeners only listen for the facts. Sometimes selective listeners only listen to the feelings. But I think you get, again, what's going on here. It's not good. Not good to be the selective listener. Oh, but wait, there's more. There's the active listener. Wait a minute, we keep climbing up here. It looks like it's getting better. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being an active listener. Oh, I know you can see there's more to come, but nothing wrong with the active listener. The active listener is present. They're taking it in. They're a good consumer of your information. They're even doing some of the things that really help communication and really pull us in as a listener to being present and focused on you. They're paraphrasing things you're saying. They're asking questions. Questions not to challenge you or to be disruptive, but questions to gain clarity and understanding. Questions to signal to you that I'm paying attention and I want to know. I want to understand more. And also they are doing that, aren't they? They're using their body language. Facial expressions. They're nodding their head genuinely and authentically when you make a point and they agree with you. And then it stops and they focus back on you. The eye contact is there. That wasn't there with the inactive or selective listener. Active listening is what most of us identify with as far as wanting to be better at and do. And that's absolutely okay. But there is this next level, if you will. Up here in green, all the way up from the bottom of inactive listening to reflective listening. A reflective listener does some things that the active listener does not do. They first of all make sure that they are paraphrasing or parroting what the person speaking is saying. To make sure, again, that they're demonstrating that I am listening to you and I want to make sure that I'm getting everything you're saying, I'm getting it correctly. Now, both paraphrasing and parroting work. Parroting is when you're talking and you're saying things. And so, Eric, this happened at 3:30 on Wednesday. And I say 3:30 on Wednesday. And you said, and so then at about 4:17, they walked in and did this. And then they walked in and did this. I'm just simply parroting kind of a last little bit of what you're saying periodically. Paraphrasing, again, it's equally acceptable. Everybody has a little style. Some people parrot better than paraphrasing. I tend to be more of a paraphraser. Paraphrasing is when I say, Eric, if I've heard you correctly, what you've told me so far is this happened, and then this happened, and then they did this. And I pause for a moment to have the person that's speaking say, absolutely, you have it correct. So a reflective listener is making sure that's happening periodically, parroting or paraphrasing to signal that I am listening to you and I get what you're saying. The reflective listener is also making sure that they're validating their communication partner's feelings. So when I say, hey, at 1:15, they walked in and did this, and oh boy, that made me anxious. 1:15, they came in, and I can imagine after them saying that they said at 1:15, it would make you anxious. I'm simply validating. And if you notice, most of the time when we validate someone's emotions, all we need to do is repeat back what they've said again, but specifically highlighting not the facts of the matter, but how they feel about it. There's one other thing that is a big difference in a reflective listener in a communication, in the role of listening that they'll do, and they will verify and prioritize your needs. Someone might be saying over and over in communicating with you something about what they need, and I need this, and I need that. And after a couple times, we pick up on that, right? That might be a point where we drop into the conversation, a form of paraphrasing, and again, verifying and prioritizing needs, all wrapped up into one, and say, Eric, 2 or 3 times you've mentioned this thing. That seems like it's important to you. How important? And then I say, it's more important than air. So it's very important to you. Think about how you feel. Think about how you feel when someone is acknowledging and paraphrasing what you're saying or parroting. They're validating your emotions and how you feel about things. And they're also making sure they understand the top needs, the top priorities you have in what you're communicating, in what you're saying to them. Now, if this conversation results in one of us needing to take some action, or I need to assist you or help you in some way, I need to know those things. I need to understand the situation completely, have a keen understanding of it. It would be important to know how you feel about those things. It would also be very important if I need to help you take action, solve a problem, or come up with solutions, brainstorm or collaborate, that I understand what your priorities are, what your priorities are. You see, a lot of times what we do as an active listener with those priorities is we think we understand, or we work from our frame of reference and not yours. The reflective listener does not do that. The reflective listener makes sure they understand what's going on, how you feel about it, what are the priorities, what are your needs, and then they can work with you or assist you as a partner in solving the issue that you're having. So how do you get started with being a great active listener or an awesome reflective listener? First thing, stop the distractions. Stop the distractions. Don't look at your phone. Don't even bring it in with you. You say, well, I take notes. Go old school on the notes. I do recommend notes. That'd be number 2. So number 1, get rid of the distractions. Oh, by the way, external distractions, your phone, absolutely get rid of it. It's out of there. But also make sure you're not hungry. Make sure you're not hangry. Make sure you're not overly tired. Make sure you can hang in there for the conversation and be the reflective listener and do those 3 things that reflective listeners do. So I would definitely recommend number 2 being taking notes. Old school notes, pen and paper, take notes. One trick I have for taking notes is I take the page and I divide it in 2, lines straight down the middle. The left side is you. The left side is your column. The right side is my column. What goes on the left side, that's your column. I write down things you tell me. You're telling me things over and over again a few times that are important. I might need to validate and verify and prioritize that need. You mentioned a feeling 3 or 4 times. We might need to actually talk about that in a way to let you expand on that, vent on that, to have a chance to have a cathartic process, to walk yourself off the ledge of how bad that feeling is making you feel. The right side is where I can make my notes about me. I maybe have a question. Maybe you mention a word or a time or a stat that I don't understand completely. I'll write it down there. That keeps me from interrupting you. It's also, now I have these two columns, so I have to pay attention to what you're saying. And I have a place for things to go. Now, what's interesting is that I collect questions on the right-hand side. That's the column for me, the things that I want to ask you or get clarity on. What I found is most of the time, I don't even have to do anything with that column. Because if I can keep from interrupting you and over-talking you and cross-talking you and let you have the floor and let the conversation run its course with me being the reflective listener, you'll clarify everything. You'll illuminate everything. You'll answer all my questions. So then at the end of that, we form a we partnership, and it's either I've understood what you're saying and that makes you feel better, or I've listened with logic and I have a few solutions and a few ideas, and now we can have an exchange of those to try to make the situation better. The thing to think about here is, what type of listener are you? If you're down at the bottom of that list I showed you a little bit ago, the inactive or the selective listener, get out of that, climb out of that, get up into active listening as soon as you can. And if you're at active listening, be thinking about taking those steps to move into the reflective listening space, if you will. Parroting and paraphrasing the situation or the issue. Being able to validate and acknowledge someone's feelings, moods, and emotions. And then that next level inside reflective listening is be able to pick up on the needs that someone has, acknowledge them, and then have them prioritize them so that you can assist them in whatever way is possible. So folks, thanks for watching. Until next time, make sure you take care of yourself so you can take care of each other. And I'll see you in another video very, very soon.